On this week's episode, the best and the worst of this year's Super Bowl ads. Is Netflix seeing Amazon in the rearview mirror? And what's the fascination we have with true crime? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Thank you so much for being part of all of our great programs. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own crime scene detective of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to hear what he's doing today on his show Topicocalypse. Read everything that he's doing at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And of course, his great book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Done any investigating lately?
By investigating, do you mean are we talking like murders, journalism, or just like trying to find my glasses in the morning?
Could be all of the above.
That's very true. Very true. Who knows?
Who knows indeed, my friend. But I know you just got recently a chance to finish a great addition to the Dragon Ball Z lineup in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Can you can you share your thoughts on the game and what you thought of it?
Yes. So I am about. Actually, this game is like it's fun, but it's like stupid long. So I'm probably about 5 hours in, and so you start at the beginning. So it takes place right at the conclusion of Dragon Ball. You play through the entire series of Dragon Ball Z. So you go through the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, the Android saga, the Cell saga, the Majin Buu saga, and I'm sure I'm missing something in there. But I've been playing this game for about 5 hours. Haven't even finished the Saiyan saga. Right now, I'm at the part where Vegeta and Nappa are waiting for Goku to come back because he just got revived. But the Dragon Balls, they killed Yamcha and Tien and um, uh, Chaozu. So now they're just kind of sitting around waiting. Okay, so my thoughts on this game are thus: I love the open world feeling of the game, right? It is in all I mean, it's close to an RPG as a Dragon Ball game can get, right? Like you have the combat is still Dragon Ball Z combat, except you're not like on on a tournament floor or something. You are flying around, you get punched, you go through a mountain, right? And the mountain just disintegrates. Um, Other than that, like when you're not fighting on the battle screen, you are out in the open, like you're flying from one area to another. So the whole like continents that Dragon Ball takes on, you're flying around, and you can do quests for characters who are familiar with the show or characters who are on the show. You do quests for them, you get experience points, you get these little things called community badges. So this is where the progression system is confusing as all get up. You get these things called community badges, and you get like one thing. You have the fighting community, the cooking community, the strength community, and there's a whole bunch of other things. You can power up these badges to do certain things within these communities, and then you have to give gifts to power these. There's gifts you get, and you have to use those to power up these certain abilities that you have. It is super confusing, and that's the one big thing I dislike about the game strongly is that you can you can level up, get more HP or whatever, but in order to really like hone your skills in, you have to mess with this community board, and it is just confusing as all get up, and I'm not a fan of it. Other than that, it is, I love the idea of being able to fly. Do you remember Robotech on the original Xbox and
Of
PlayStation
course.
2? Game was hot garbage, but what I did like about it was the fact that you could free roam, like you can fly around however you want to. You can transform into the robot, do the jet thing, and just go wherever you want to. That's what this game is. So it has an open world map. If you fly up above the clouds, it lets you pick what continent you want to go to. So far, I'm really digging it. It is the my own, my biggest complaint about it is that it is repetitive. So it's probably going to be one of those games that I play a little piece at a time. Maybe I'll do like the Saiyan Saga, take a break, play something else, go back, do the Frieza Saga, take a break, and so on and so forth. But they did a good job. It is what it is. It is a Dragon Ball Z game at its heart. So don't go into it expecting it to have like the RPG mechanics of like a a JRPG. It's not that, but it's worth the money. If pick it up for $60, it's if you need something to play desperately, yes. But if you have a stack of games you're trying to get through, I'd say wait till it drops down to like 40 or goes on sale or something.
And that's again Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That's Kakarot. Kakarot. That's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That's available today on PS4, Xbox One. It's available now everywhere you can get your video games for about $50. So it's a decent buy right there for you. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Well, we are going to have a great show for you today. We've got Jackie Rom. We've got crime novelist and star of the Amazon Prime documentary Method of Murder, Jackie Rom, joining us later on in the program. Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking, speaking of Amazon Prime, we're going to close out the show giving you an update on Amazon Prime and what we were talking about recently. And the numbers are quite interesting, so we'll just touch on that real quick before we close out on the show. Plus, also as well, Josh and I are going to give our opinions on true crime podcasts and why true crime as a whole is now taking off. Actually, in the past few years, true crime has really been taking off, and we have some theories and thoughts on it as we go ahead and share some thoughts on the true crime phenomenon, as it were, and why it's become so popular. But also as well, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl trailers. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot to talk about with some of these trailers, indeed. But first off, my friend, we're talking some Super Bowl ads because it's now time for our yearly edition of the best and worst in Super Bowl ads. And there was a lot of them this year. But I will tell you, for me, I think it was a better year for Super Bowl ads. I thought on the whole, they were more enjoyable and more tolerable to watch than previous years. I thought there were several. In fact, I was counting, I think, up to 8 or 9, I think, that could have gone into my top 3. So I think there were lots of choices out there. And I think if you have one out there, we'd love to hear from you, what your top 3 were. If you want to get a chance, just give us a shout out at Pop Culture Cosmo or popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Or even if you want to go ahead and put it as part of our part of a 5-star review on iTunes, you can do that as well. Just let us know what Super Bowl commercials really moved you. But we do have a list, 3 each, of our best and worst. So I'll start with you, my friend. Your best Super Bowl ads, your top 3. You can even give an honorable mention if you like on what Super Bowl ads really moved you this year.
Okay, so wait, what are we starting with the worst or the best?
You gotta listen. I said the best.
Okay. All right. So starting with the best, I loved the Hyundai commercial, the Smart Park. Yeah, Smart Park.
Smart Park. Smart Park.
It's a Smart Park.
Smart Park.
Yeah, that was, I don't know what it was, but I mean, most people would be like, oh, that's a dumb commercial. But like, just because, I don't know, it felt very, it reminded me of, when you go to Universal Studios and you're walking down that entrance and they have the Brooklyn wall there and they have the 2 people whose job it is to yell things down. Oh, look at Harry, look at what he's wearing, he's got a hat. Like, that's what that reminded me of. And I don't know, it just like brought back great memories for me. So it felt nice to watch it. I don't know if that makes sense, but like,
no, it's getting a lot of favorable reviews. So I think a lot of people are also getting very, very positive about that ad.
Yeah. Are we just jumping into it? You want me to just tell you all 3 of mine?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I liked the Michelob Ultra commercial with Jimmy Fallon. That one was pretty funny.
And John Cena in it.
John Cena, yeah. John Cena, I love that he like disappeared for a while and now he's coming back. But that was actually a really funny commercial.
We'll touch on John Cena later when it comes to the trailers, but go ahead.
Yeah, I did legitimately laugh out loud at that. The other one that I really enjoyed was the Charlie Day, how his commercial kind of crossed through the entire Super Bowl. Like, I love it had this running narrative that just kind of crossed over it. You kept seeing commercials for it throughout the entire game. But what else was really great about it was that they cross-pollinated, right? When they showed Charlie Day talking to the Bud Knight. Like, that was kind of
talking to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
He was in several. The Masked Singer, he was in several of them.
Yeah, he crossed over into a lot of commercials. So I give them props. I'm not sure how much money it cost them to do that, but
because they're let's say Fox, because it averaged for a 30-second spot about $5.6 million.
Yeah.
So Tide is covering some of that when he does an appearance. Let's say with Wonder Woman, when he goes and talks to Wonder Woman and they play off each other.
Yeah.
Tide is kicking in some of that money for Warner Brothers.
Oh, I'm sure. But yeah, that was very good marketing. I did have my honorable mention would be the Walmart commercial where they had all the pop culture properties jumping into each other. I miss Mars Attacks, man. That movie is such an underrated movie. Yeah, that movie is it's gold. I probably wouldn't watch it now because it would ruin my thoughts of it, my fondness of it. But good movie, or I mean, sorry, good commercial. Okay, what are your top threes, sir?
Okay. Well, honorable mention also goes to Charlie Day and his performance throughout the entire Super Bowl. He did keep things interesting because they did a great job of spacing it out over the course of the game and his appearances. And I like the fact that he appeared in some ads that I wasn't expecting he would be in. So that's a great job by Tide for doing that. Yeah, he is an honorable mention. Smart Pac is also an honorable mention. Jason Momoa and his changing physique, that's also an honorable mention for me as well.
I was gonna say I really like that commercial. For some reason, it slipped my top three for some reason.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it gets props, so it is a positive for me. I know what the one you said with Jimmy Fallon has gotten mixed reviews, so it clicked with you, so that's a good thing. I just know it didn't click with others, but I think that was one that's going to be appearing on both good and bad lists over the course of the next few days. For me, it was like, it was all right. I thought it was, I actually already seen a lot of Jimmy Fallon at Universal Studios in Florida when, during his ride that they have for him there. So maybe I had enough of him already on that. But there was some really good commercials along with the ones that we mentioned already. And I think for me, number 3 is the Walmart commercial. Bring back all those beloved pop culture icons we see from Star Trek to Star Wars, C-3PO and R2-D2, so many others, Flash Gordon. There was, I think, probably about 10 to 15 there that we just, if you see, I think there's a longer commercial there's a longer portion of that commercial that's out there and available, I believe, and it has even more pop culture icons to lean on. So they've already done that once already with their pickup service, but I like this version even more. I thought that was really cool of them to do that. And of course, since it's the Pop Culture Cosmos, we got to like it when we see all that pop culture stuff. Number 2, and a very close number 2, is Bill Murray and Groundhog Day with the Jeep commercial. I don't know if you got a chance to see that one, but that one is really good, and it involves his brother who was in the original movie. It also involves the Ned character that was also part of the movie as well. So flashback those two characters, it got them involved in the commercial. So I really like that commercial from. I really like the commercial. I really like that commercial with Bill Murray and Groundhog Day styled that Jeep presented. So I thought that was a really good commercial. And number 1. I'm not a big fan of the show, I'm not as big a fan of the show as maybe I should be. But Rick and Morty really took it to the house with their Pringles commercial. I really thought that was good, and the fact that it just didn't go cut to black or cut to the product, and it was just like a hard cut to the next commercial. I really like the fact that they did it that way because it gave it that allure that they are really trapped in a Pringles commercial. So I like that a lot. So yes, Rick and Morty takes the cake for me. Number 1 as far as with their Pringles commercial is concerned. So that was some really good stuff. Like I said, I think it was a better year for commercials than most. I really like the fact that there's a lot of 6, 7, 8 deep, 9 deep of commercials that I really think could be out there amongst everybody's top 3, top 4 that's out there. So yeah, I definitely think it was good. But for bad commercials, I didn't think they were all. There were a couple really snoozers. There were a couple snoozers out there, especially if you're sugar related. Especially if it's sugar related. I think there are some real snoozers out there. So, but it wasn't really that many bad, awful ones, unless you want to go into political ones. But I don't want to go into political. So, staying away from the political spectrum, which we will. Which product or service ads, Super Bowl ads on, Super Bowl ads were the ones that really made you say, didn't like that one.
Okay, so my worst. Oh no, we talked about this, right? The Hard Rock Hotel one. It's a beautiful hotel, but it
Yes.
didn't click for me. That whole scene with J Lo and Khalid and thing and overall
Pitbull.
Pitbull. Yeah, it didn't click with me, and it might just be because I'm not into that scene, but it felt like it lasted a little bit too long. There's too much motion, so I didn't really get a chance to. I didn't even understand that it was a Hard Rock Hotel commercial until they showed the hotel at the end of it. Okay, my other one is for the very reason you stated, all the NFL commercials too political, leave politics out of the Super Bowl. My other one that was bad was the Cheetos commercial. It was just hold on one second, the dog's drinking water.
It's funny because I cannot hear the dog lapping as like I can with your other mic, just to let you know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, or the airplanes or the outside, it doesn't come across as much as it. Yeah,
That's good. That's good. All right, but yeah, my last one is the Cheetos commercial. It was like I giggled at it, but it was not. I don't know. It's a weird crossover with MC Hammer and Cheetos. It just I don't know. It made me. I laughed, but it made me really uncomfortable.
there you go. There you go. So, what was your okay? So the NFL, Cheetos, and what was the other one?
The Hard Rock Hotel.
Oh, that's right. Okay, okay, okay. My worst three. And actually, I want to give a dishonorable mention for me. There are actually, like I said, there was maybe 2 or 3 more that could have gone on this list, but they weren't horrible. But the Martin Scorsese, Jonah Hill advertisement in regards to the Coca-Cola energy drink, I think that was just a waste of money for Coca-Cola. But then again, they got a ton of cash, so they can go ahead. Their commercials, for the most part, each year are not creative, and they still make a ton of cash. So, you know what? The Super Bowl ads, I don't know. It's so funny when Pepsi tries to troll them each and every year. And again, Coca-Cola seems to come out on top every single year. So I don't know how that works. So, be that as it may. For me, number 3 was the Alexa commercials. And I'm sorry, for Ellen DeGeneres fans, this was not her shining performance. And also as well, I just going back as far as the other uses before Alexa to do those type of things, it wasn't funny. And if you listen and you watch the longer version of this commercial, it's not even any more entertaining. So Alexa, please don't play any more of that commercial. Number 2 is Pop-Tarts. And this came just before the end of the first half. It's Pop-Tarts gimmick to try and go ahead and create a Pop-Tart with a pretzel and a sweet topping. So like a salty, sweet type deal, sweet and sour type deal. No, I think that product will probably be off the shelves within a year. I don't know, may catch on, but I don't think so, especially because the ad itself on the Super Bowl really was not that good. And then the last is a tie, which is the worst Super Bowl ads of the year for me this time around. Where actually there's a tie between Reese's Take 5 and Snickers. Both of those ads were just candy bars that were very uninteresting to watch and gave you no impetus to go out and buy those candies. They were what they were trying to connect with as far as their audience is concerned. It didn't work. They weren't funny. They weren't amusing. They were using tropes and images and styles that had been used before in Super Bowl commercials, and it really didn't connect with me. And I don't think it's going to connect with the large audience as well. I think that was missed by both by the folks at Snickers and Reese's with Reese's Take 5 and the Snickers commercials. So those are our best and worst of the Super Bowl ads. What are your best and worst of the Super Bowl ads? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos on Twitter. Pop Culture Cosmos on Twitter. And of course, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook as well. Well, coming up right after the break, Josh and I are going to break down some of the trailers we saw, some very interesting and some even harder to explain. We'll try to explain coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald coming right back at you here. There were some along with the ads that come out with the Super Bowl and paying all that De Niro, all that cash, we saw several mini trailers come out and also spots for movies that are coming out in the not too distant future. Everything from like Wonder Woman Wonder Woman, the new Minions movie, SpongeBob. My gosh, there was so much. SpongeBob, Top Gun, Black Widow, Fast and Furious, Mulan, Sonic the Hedgehog, for the Amazon original series Hunters, A Quiet Place Part 2, which actually had a really good jump scare in it, but unfortunately the way they edited it wasn't as effective as if you see the actual long version of it online on YouTube. So I ask you, my friend, where do you want to start first as far as some of the trailers that we saw? I know where I want to start, but I'll have you start first on what trailers seem the most interesting to you and why.
So the Marvel one was interesting to me in the fact that I had never seen footage from any of that stuff before.
That's basically a teaser for Disney Plus with footage shown from Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and WandaVision. So all three had footage of each, and it was very cool to see.
Yeah, it was very cool. I love seeing, the Falcon and Winter Soldier. That got bumped up, right? So that's coming out in
August.
August, yeah. WandaVision, it looked interesting. They didn't really tell us a lot about what was happening. From what it appears to be, it looks like when she in the comic book run House of M, Wanda changes reality, and it's Vision's like the father, and they're living like this black and white sitcom type deal. So that's kind of what it looks like.
But it also looked like she jumped maybe into like a Brady Bunch 1970s or 1960s type format as well. Looked that she had on, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what in House of M that all happens. The Loki, they didn't really say enough about it, but yeah, it's nice to see. My big concern, I know we talked about this, was that the question of whether or not these shows were going to have the production value of a Marvel film, and it seems like they do. So that just felt nice to see those fears put to rest.
Absolutely, it does look very good, especially Falcon and Winter Soldier right off the get-go. WandaVision looks very different, so we'll have to see exactly what goes on with that series, because it's going to have a very different look from anything we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before, and especially because it will be tying into the next Doctor Strange, which will be coming out in May of 2021. So definitely some interesting things coming up for Disney Plus. I just wish they were coming out a lot sooner. I mean, in our discussion last week in regards to Disney Plus, there's a lack of content that's new and fresh. So it would have been just awesome to see these shows coming out in the not too distant future, that rather than having to wait, at least in the case of the earliest one that would be coming out, which is Falcon and Winter Soldier, another 6 months. So that's something that we'll have to go ahead and wait for, bide our time with, but still looks good when it comes. It looks like it's going to be good when it finally comes out to Disney Plus. So there's a lot of other things that came out as well. I like the new James Bond trailer that came out with some footage. Really looks good for what's coming out in April for that movie. But the one movie I really want to talk to you about is the Fast and Furious 9, the Fast Saga, as it's being called. That trailer. First off, John Cena, as we talked about earlier, he is now involved in it, and this is something that wasn't a surprise because it's already been announced, but he's part of the movie playing Vin Diesel's brother, playing Dom's brother, Dom, aka Vin Diesel, in the movie. So Vin Diesel playing Dom in the movie. So you've got John Cena being Vin Diesel's brother in the film. I mean, is this something that you could really get behind? Who's a master assassin, who's a thief, who's a vehicle specialist, that absolutely gave us we had no idea before on it until but seemingly Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez, they knew about him for, I mean, obviously Vin Diesel did, but Michelle Rodriguez was the only one to know outside of Vin Diesel.
It's kind of par for the course with these shows or these movies. They don't even every script it feels like is pulled out of some guy's backside, but it ends up like they tie it into the mythology, and people are like, yeah, no, it's a Fast and Furious movie. What do we expect? If they had cars that all of a sudden grew rockets and shot them into space, people would just be like, it's a Fast and Furious movie. What they expect? Like,
Hey, there is a car with a rocket in this
Yeah.
in the trailer.
Speaking of which, yeah. So I mean, I don't. It's not disappointing. It's not like I'm not like, oh, that's so stupid. It is a Fast and the Furious movie, and just by nature, this franchise is stupid. But that's what makes it so endearing is that it is stupid. All that.
Speaking
stuff,
of stupid, Justice for Han has finally been paid off because.
I know. I actually really like that character, so I'm glad they brought him back.
But the problem is, they gave these spoilers away with John Cena being his brother, being Vin Diesel's brother in the film, and also Han coming out at the end of the trailer. Fast and Furious is a series that just sells itself by the name at this point. Why give these spoilers away?
Yeah, if you look at the trailer's running time, though, the trailer is 4 minutes. Like not.
Yeah, I mean that's the one you could find on YouTube. This is the one that you could find on YouTube in its full version. They didn't really give much in the 30-second Super Bowl spot, but the expanded version tells you all these spoilers, and that to me is kind of disappointing, even though we're probably going to see the movie anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I hear you on that, but I mean it is a Fast and the Furious film, so I mean I'm sure there's going to be plenty more over the top stuff in it. The thing with John Cena, so back to your original question, right? You asked me about how I feel about John Cena being Vin Diesel's brother. I'm kind of okay with it. Like until they were standing side by side, I'm like they're both kind of broody. I can kind of see that going on. I do want to ask you though, do you think that John Cena had to spend any time in a tanning booth to make him look more like Vin Diesel?
Well, you can see the difference in the trailer and then in the commercial he did with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, he's a little pastier, but I don't know. I'm okay with it. What's confusing me is that all the crossovers, right? They have like Vin Diesel talking to Shaw's mom, and they had Cypher's back, and there's this Jordana Brewster's back in it, but they were talking about maybe having a cameo by Paul Walker's brother playing Paul Walker again. And then if you blink and you miss it, and they show Lucas Black from Tokyo Drift.
Exactly.
And his buddy, his mechanic buddy, who's actually in a show on Cinemax called Warrior, which is really good. Check it out if you get a chance. But yeah, it looks like this is the Expendables of Fast and Furious movies. Everyone's coming back around. I'm not expecting
no one really dies.
No one dies. Yeah, now everyone's saying bring back Giselle, who got shredded through an airplane engine in like Fast and Furious 5, I think. Right?
Gal Gadot, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. At this point, I'm not expecting anything. I'll watch it. I'm not like expecting it to be like an amazing movie. It's just funny how the turns that this franchise has taken. Is there anything that you want out of the film, though?
What I wanted out of the film series has been lost a long time ago, as far as cohesion in the time frame, plots, in the scripts. Yeah, what I wanted out of the series in regards to a cohesive narrative storytelling experience, that just flew out of the car. Basically got right from the get-go. When Vin Diesel was going his quarter mile at the time, basically he chucked the scripts right out the window at that point in time. They had no idea, obviously, it was going to this lengths. In fact, even early on when they were going with even number 2 and number 3, which was Tokyo Drift, they probably had no idea it would be going 9 films or even more longer. I mean, sure, there's another one that's already, coming up pretty soon in about 2-3 years anyways, not for number 10 at least. It's still, it would be nice if they tried to make sense of it. They tried to have it cohesive, but it really is just, at this point, they're just, we always talk about retconning in these films with Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff. Okay, the Fast and Furious series it should be renamed Retcon. The Fast and the Retcon. Let's just point it. Let's just leave it at that. At this point, you go down there. It's dumb popcorn fun with crazy CGI card tricks, and you're already seeing some of that in the extended trailer that's out there. So you know what? I was just disappointed that they would give these secrets of Dom's brother and also as well Han so freely away. They don't have to go ahead to do that to sell a movie because they're Fast 9. It's already pretty much guaranteed to make 800 million, 900 million, over $1 billion because that's what the ones do. The side movies, Hobbs and Shaw, that made $750 million. So you see that the series is probably at its peak of popularity. So it really doesn't have to go ahead and give away these spoilers. Let the fans experience it for themselves inside the theater.
Okay, so before we close this topic up, I do want to ask you. So Fast 9 was supposed to be the end of it, right? But from what I'm reading,
No, they're going to do 10.
Yeah, they're doing 10. And it's actually going to shoot right after this movie comes out, and so it's because it's supposed to release in 2021, like it's supposed to come out the following year, and they're saying that The Rock is hinting that he's going to be back. The only reason he wasn't in this one was because of scheduling conflicts. So
I think it will have everybody. 10 will have everybody. Jason Statham, the whole 9 yards will have 10.
Do you think that will truly be the end of it, though? Like, I feel like anybody who's willing to drag this franchise on for 10 films is just not capable of stopping it at any point.
That's an excellent question. I would not guarantee it. If 10 does, well, obviously it's in the hands of Universal. If 10 does bonkers, Vin Diesel's still young enough, Hobbs and Shaw 2 comes out and that does well, then there's no end in sight for the Fast and Furious series. It's just that simple. As long as these films, the main ones, garner close to $1 billion or over, and the side stories like Hobbs and Shaw garner over $700 million like this one did, it's just right there for you. Michelle Rodriguez, her character and some other characters could probably go ahead. You have Ludacris and Taye Diggs. They could go ahead and make their own side movies as well, and that could probably generate 3, 4, 5, 600 million as well, maybe even more, 700, 800 million. You could see it that these side characters, when Vin Diesel's not in there, make those type of numbers. So it just right now, Fast and Furious series is hot because it's just great popcorn fun. You just sit there, throw put your mind on the side seat next to you, and basically you watch the film from there. You pretty much turn everything off and you just watch, and that's basically what it comes down to. But I was just, like I said, I'm just sad that they give away all these spoilers. It comes right down to the Empire Strikes Back theory. The Empire Strikes Back, part of the reason why it's so beloved is because people had to go to the theater to find the shocking answer to the question of Luke Skywalker's father. They actually had to go and walk into a theater and sit down and see it. That's why the mystique in regards to Empire Strikes Back is still there, even to this day. Part of the reason, mind you. In fact, also it's also a darn good film. But when it comes to the Fast and Furious series, the cohesive narrative line aside, just would be nice when you go to theater and you can get your spoilers there instead of actually seeing it online on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean that's just No, I agree. It's just it's hard,
especially for a series that doesn't have to do it. That's made already a ton of cash.
Yeah, you could really they could have just released a trailer of Vin Diesel getting out of a car and talking to John Cena, and people would still be stoked on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't have to give away his identity. They just had to say, okay, these two are headed for a showdown, and that's all you really need to know. There are also other great trailers out there. Again, James Bond, the latest trailer for that's movies dropping in April. I'm very excited for that one. Wonder Woman had some footage, obviously with Charlie Day involved. That was kind of a nice tie-in. Once again, SpongeBob, that movie's coming out. Sonic the Hedgehog. There was a whole bunch of movies that came out with some 30-second spots. My suggestion is take a look at our ad that we take a look at our post that we posted at our Facebook group, at our Facebook page, Pop Culture Cosmos. Then go and see the corresponding extended spot online on YouTube. especially when it comes to The Quiet Place Part 2 and so many other of these films, because I think there were a lot that are worth watching at this point in time.
Okay, one more thing I do want to ask you. How are you feeling about that Mulan trailer that dropped? I am actually slightly more interested in it now than I was before this day started.
I am in agreement with you on that. I think it looked a lot better. I think it gave a lot better impression this time around. So I'm a lot more positive about it. There's still some people out there that are still kind of upset that there's no real music as far as singing and vocalization on it. It's taking a far different dramatic turn than what the animated film did. But for me, I'm kind of liking where this film is going now.
Yeah, and the lack of music kind of makes it stand out because up until this point, we have gotten exact repeats of the cartoons with literally nothing changed. With Mulan, though, you're getting there's no music. It feels like a legit historical piece. It sticks to it does have the background music, like it's got the instrumental of what the songs were, and it feels like it has the choreography of like an Ang Lee film, and that's something that and you know that I'm a huge fan of kung fu films, so I mean, this feels like it's something that's right up my alley.
It looks like it's something that a lot of people will become more interested in it as it gets closer to the air date. So Mulan is something I think we're going to go ahead and be very interested in seeing once it comes out, and I think a lot of it is due to the ad that came out during the Super Bowl weekend as well. What are your thoughts out there on the movie trailers that debuted over Super Bowl weekend? Which ones were your favorites? Which ones have you say, nah, I don't think I'll catch it at the movie theater? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got a great interview with Jackie Rom. She's a crime novelist with a couple of great books out already dealing within the crime world. Plus, also as well, she's a star of the Amazon Prime documentary Method of Murder. She's got some children's books out. She's got a podcast even. There's a lot to talk about with Jackie Rom, and we'll go ahead and talk to her next right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're about to close out the show's Pop Culture Cosmos. My friend, I just want to ask you this before we head on out. I spoke to Jackie Rom, her comments right there on why people are just so fascinated with true crime. And of course, you and I both know within the podcast medium, since we both produce podcasts, how popular true crime podcasts really are. Your thoughts on what's the connection people have with true crime? I mean, not only among men, but women especially are really, according to the numbers, really gearing and veering into this true crime world, whether it's TV shows, where, in fact, my wife, it just loves Dateline. And of course, the Serial podcast really kicked off a lot of things when it comes to true crime. But what do you think the fascination is with with everyone out there in society when it comes to true crime, and why are they following it so closely?
That's an interesting question. I've actually been thinking about this, not just because you were going to ask me that question, but just because I'm curious about it. It feels to me, okay, not to get psychological, but I feel like we all have this darker nature that is always existing within us, but we just kind of don't ever open that door. And now that these true crime podcasts, people are fascinated by it. They're fascinated because this is appeasing that kind of darkness in people without having to make them become that darkness itself. So it's allowing them to like live vicariously, I suppose. Like, and there's also like there's a mystery element to it, but just the fact that, like, yeah, I'm so hooked on it, I want to know what happens next, what happens next. And I think there's a deeply psychological nature to that. But what are your thoughts on there?
It's a fascination. I was seeing the numbers the other day and how fast it's rising amongst women as far as checking out true crime podcasts and whatnot. But I just think it's the fascination we as humans have with true crime, and people going bad, people going onto the dark side, people going ahead and committing heinous crimes like this. the macabre, anything of this nature. I mean, when talking with Jackie Rom about her thoughts on it, you could just tell that she has become truly fascinated on it. I mean, it followed the Amazon, the documentary that she did, Method of Murder, details that fascination and interest she has with it. Even though obviously most of us do not want to commit these heinous crimes, it's just the fascination with why people do it and following them so closely and trying to understand exactly why they're, the motivations that these individuals have, but also as well sometimes the fascination in trying to solve these murders, these mysteries, these crimes ourselves. How did they happen? How did they get away with it? Or exactly who did it? And do I have a thought on it myself? Those things come into play when you're checking out anything in regards to the true crime genre, whether it's television, film, or or in an audio form. And I'll tell you what, it's become a fascinating thing for all of us. It's been fascinating for quite some time, but now that the podcast medium is so popular now, it's just even become more so. And I think, like I said with Jackie Rahman, I'll just again mention again the Serial podcast started it all as far as for everybody on a podcast medium as far as true crime is concerned. So you can tell a lot of people really got into the medium, and they would just it just exploded from there. And now you have true crime pretty much outside of maybe some conversational and interview style podcasts. I think true crime podcasting right now is at its peak, and there's probably nothing more popular right now in the podcast medium.
Yeah, and but do you, at the same time, I mean, you had said this yourself, right? That there's so many of them out there and the numbers are on the rise. Do you think that we are going to get to a point where that market becomes oversaturated?
Yeah, I think there will be a time. I mean, for all things, if there's pop culture, television, film shows, things of that nature, sports, doesn't matter. At some point in time, there is going to be a point of saturation that the audience will not be able to follow. It hasn't hit it yet, but I'm sure at some point in time they will. It all depends on exactly the accessibility and the fact that you're always trying to gain a new audience. At right now, the people that are just starting to check out podcasts for the first time, and the people that are checking out other podcasts for the first time is still at a high rate. There's going to be a point in time where podcasts are the norm, or maybe become passe. That point is not now, or not even in the near future, but there will be a point in time, and I think at some point in time, you're right, there is going to be a saturation point for not only true crime podcast, but podcasting as a whole. Hopefully for us, it won't be for a long time, but you never know. Maybe wait, I can't say I'm old. I can't say until I'm old and gray because I'm already there. But that's me. But yeah, it's just but when it comes to the true crime genre, there's a lot to talk about. We want to hear your thoughts on exactly why it has become so popular or so fascinating, because in a podcast medium, it is probably the most popular genre out today. But I know that also exists as far as television, film. They're extremely fascinating to follow for everyone out there. So we want to hear your thoughts on true crime and why it's so popular, and some of the thoughts that Jackie Rom shared as well on her show. Let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com, but also as well Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, it's been a great show, my friend. Once again, thank you to Jackie Rom for being part of it, and always to you, my friend, for being my fellow host on the show. We've got a lot of things to talk about coming up on Friday, because Birds of Prey with Margot Robbie is coming out, and I know you and I are both excited for that film. But before we head on out, Amazon Prime hits 150 million subscribers, which is just 11 million behind Netflix. This extends our conversation we had previously on Amazon Prime. I think a lot more people are getting into the video portion of it than just having it for free shipping. I think Amazon Prime is now a true contender for the throne of most popular streaming outlet, a lot more than we were once led to believe.
Oh, for sure. They've got a lot of great content on there, and here's the thing though, like, Netflix just puts all this stuff out. That every once in a while I stumble up on a Netflix show that's okay, but like most of it's just trash. But like we said before, like they can afford to do trash, right? At least they're putting out content. Amazon has big budget, so when they have these shows come out, their shows and their films, and their films premiere in movies before they hit the streaming service, which is really helpful to them. But yeah, they have these big budget shows, and they're amazing. And Lord of the Rings, I'm sure is going to be great, but they're not consistent enough. And so when it comes to if they really want to put Netflix in the rearview mirror, they're going to have to up the ante when it comes to putting shows out. And that might be a good opportunity to seek out new talent, see what people are doing on the indie circuit. But yeah, they are growing, and I do like that they are starting to take themselves seriously. So it would seem, and not just being like a hobby studio.
Or also as well, just a studio that was a side thing, which for many years, in fact, even when we started, we always treated Amazon Prime as a side thing, and we just gave it. We just thought, as far as a given, that most people have it because of the free Amazon Prime shipping and delivery and all the little other nooks and crannies that they have with the Twitch game, the free games and the free stuff on Twitch and all that. But now, to me, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people, I'm just going to say this, a lot of people are now utilizing Amazon Prime for the great video content that they have, the award-winning content that they have, and upcoming Lord of the Rings and all the other great shows, The Boys Season 2, and so much more that gets us excited. Amazon Prime is no longer a side gig for Amazon anymore. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.